There is a moment in life when the unseen world begins to feel more real than the one that your senses touch. In that moment, something inside you shifts, and you begin to see that the invisible holds more power than the visible. You realize that every single thing that appears in your world first lived as a silent seed in your imagination. And when you truly know this, you stop asking the world to change and instead begin to change the world inside yourself. You stop begging circumstances to favor you and start commanding the inner picture to obey your will. The outer world is only a shadow. It cannot resist for long what is already established within you. The 11th key is the sacred practice of saturating your mind with the state of already being the one who has received. This is not a fleeting thought or a half-hearted wish. This is a deliberate flooding of your consciousness with the feeling that the thing you desire is already yours. Imagine a vessel being filled until it overflows. That is what you must do with your own mind. Morning, noon, and night, you return to the picture. You dwell there so consistently that the old image of lack is erased, replaced by a single truth. It is done. It is finished in the invisible, and because it is finished there, it must appear here. You cannot allow yourself to treat this as a game you play when you remember. It is the breath you breathe, the heartbeat you carry. The longer you live in this state, without looking back to the former picture, the quicker the world must bend and shape itself around your new image. You may wonder why some try this and see nothing. It is because they never truly saturate. They dip their toes in the feeling, then step out to check if the outer world has changed. And in that moment, they return to the old state. The law responds to your dominant state, not your occasional wish. You must become so certain that you no longer watch the clock, no longer test the soil to see if the seed is growing. You let the seed be because you know its life is inevitable. This saturation leaves no room for doubt. It becomes so natural that you do not even call it faith anymore. It is simply reality to you. And when you live in it as reality, the outer world has no choice but to mirror it. When you understand this, you can apply it to anything, even something as sudden and unlikely as winning a great sum of money. You do not have to wait for odds or statistics to align in your favor. You align your own being with the reality where it has already happened. And as you live from that reality long enough, it begins to weave itself into the days ahead until the very moment arrives when the invisible becomes visible. The 12th key flows directly from the 11th. For once you have saturated your mind with the image of the fulfilled desire, you must guard that state as the most precious treasure you own. There are forces in the outer world, casual conversations, bits of news, the doubts of others, that will try to lure you back to the old picture. They do not mean harm, but they are part of the old vibration. And if you entertain them, you step out of the new reality you have been building. Protecting your state means turning away from anything that contradicts it. It means refusing to explain yourself to those who cannot see what you see. Guarding the state is like tending to a fire in the night. If you leave it unattended, it will fade and die. But if you keep feeding it, it will grow until its light is so great it consumes the darkness. You must learn the discipline of withdrawing your attention from anything that challenges your vision. You cannot argue with the shadows. You simply turn toward the light and live, as though the shadow never existed. This is where many falter. They are able to imagine for a time, but they do not guard their state when the outer world tempts them to react. The true test is not in the moments of deep imagination, but in the hours in between. Can you remain in the feeling when nothing in the outer world confirms it? Can you hold your peace when logic tells you it is impossible? That is when the law is working at its strongest. For it is in those moments, when there is no evidence yet, that your faith becomes the very substance from which the evidence will form. When you go to sleep at night, you must drift into slumber, still in possession of that state. Sleep is the passageway between the invisible and the visible. And whatever state you carry into it will be planted deeper into the fertile ground of your subconscious. If you end your day rehearsing doubts, you plant weeds. If you end it reliving the joy of the fulfilled desire, you plant the harvest you want. This is why I say guard your state, because every moment you dwell in it. Especially in the stillness before sleep, you are fortifying the reality you wish to see. And when you wake, before your mind reaches for the familiar patterns of the day, you must step again into that inner scene, as though the night had sealed it into truth. You will find that the more you guard this inner world, the less the outer world can disturb it. Eventually, your inner certainty becomes so unshakable that the events of the day begin to echo it without effort. You will notice small signs first: a conversation, a chance encounter, a sudden opportunity, and these will grow into the full manifestation. It will feel like the world has rearranged itself around you. But in truth, you rearranged yourself first. When you live this way, saturation and guarding become one continuous act. You no longer separate the moments when you imagine from the moments when you live, because you are always living in the imagination. You are no longer wishing for a change. You are living from the change. And it is from that place that the most improbable things become inevitable. The lottery ticket becomes just one possible channel among countless others through which the abundance must arrive. You do not cling to the form it takes, because you have already received it in the only place that matters: within. And when it is yours within, nothing can prevent it from becoming yours without. There comes a moment in the life of every dreamer when the unseen world feels more real than the one they can touch with their hands. It is in this sacred moment that the mind is no longer bound by the appearances of lack or limitation, and instead begins to rest in the certainty that the thing desired is already theirs. The outer world, with its noise and chaos, fades into a whisper, and the inner voice speaks with an authority that cannot be denied. That voice says, "It is done." Not "it will be done," not "it is coming," but "it is done." And when the soul hears those words, it becomes impossible to return to doubt. This is the state where faith is not an effort, but a natural breathing, a constant awareness that the world outside is merely a mirror of the conviction held inside. To live in this truth is to stop chasing and to start embodying. You are no longer pleading with some distant power to intervene on your behalf. Instead, you stand in the quiet power of knowing that you and the power are one. This is where the miraculous happens without strain, where events rearrange themselves in your favor without your conscious manipulation, and where the very people and circumstances required for your manifestation begin to move toward you, as if drawn by an invisible current. This current is not random, nor is it reserved for a select few. It is a law unchanging, unfailing, responding always to the image impressed upon the mind. And when you live from the end, from the state of the wish fulfilled, you become the embodiment of that image, and the law cannot help but bring it into form. This is why your assumption must be so complete that there is no room left for contradiction. If even in a small corner of your mind you entertain the thought that perhaps this is too good to be true, or that maybe you are not yet ready, you weaken the vibration you have set in motion. But when the assumption becomes so dominant that it colors every thought, every feeling, and every action, the law works with an unshakable precision. You begin to notice the smallest signs that confirm your state, and these signs multiply until they are undeniable. This is not coincidence. It is the evidence of the law fulfilling itself. And the more you acknowledge these signs, the stronger your conviction grows, until doubt is not merely absent. It is unimaginable. Here is where most fail, not because they lack the ability to imagine or believe, but because they allow the senses to dictate their faith. They look at the absence of the thing and call it reality, forgetting that reality is first and foremost an inner experience. You cannot wait for the evidence to believe. You must believe to see the evidence. This reversal of the natural order is the foundation of every miracle ever experienced. When you make the inner world your primary reality, the outer must conform, for it is only an echo of the unseen. And yet, there is an even deeper secret that few dare to embrace: the act of persistence beyond all logic. There will be days when nothing seems to move, when the outer world appears frozen, when your prayer seems to vanish into silence. These are the days when the seed is doing its most vital work underground. You cannot dig it up to check its progress, for in doing so you uproot the very life you have planted. Instead, you remain still in your conviction, knowing that the silence is not absence, but gestation. The most magnificent manifestations often break forth after a season of seeming stillness, and when they do, they come with a swiftness that leaves you breathless. It is also here, in this period of unwavering persistence, that your imagination takes on a richness and texture that makes the dream feel more real than the so-called reality around you. You begin to inhabit your desire so fully that you no longer feel the gap between what is and what will be. The scene you have imagined takes on a life of its own, unfolding in your mind with such clarity that it feels inevitable. This inevitability is the true magic, for when you reach the point where your dream feels not just possible, but certain, the law has no choice but to deliver it. In this way, every mental image becomes a command, every feeling a seed, every assumption a law set in motion. You do not need to know how it will come, nor do you need to control the steps. The moment you imagine it with conviction, the unseen begins to move in ways beyond your comprehension. People you have never met are inspired to take actions that align with your desire. Opportunities appear where none seemed possible. Resources flow from unexpected channels. And all of it arrives with a timing so perfect that you will know without question that it could not have been coincidence. When this understanding becomes a way of life, you will see that manifestation is not about effort or force. It is about alignment. It is about bringing your inner state into such perfect harmony with your desire that the two become indistinguishable. And when that harmony is reached, manifestation is no longer a practice, but a natural outflow of your being. You breathe it into existence without strain, without urgency, without doubt. This is the state of mastery. The state where you no longer wonder if it will happen, for you have already lived it so many times within that the outer arrival feels almost like déjà vu. And so, the path becomes clear. Hold the image. Feel it as though it were already true. Persist when nothing changes, and refuse to be moved by appearances. Trust the unseen more than the seen. For the unseen is the cause, and the seen is the effect. The moment you reverse this order, you return to struggle. But when you maintain it, life itself becomes a series of unfolding miracles, each one greater than the last, until you live in a constant awareness that the impossible has become your normal. There is a point where the outer world seems to shout louder than the quiet whisper of your own inner knowing. But if you remain faithful to the inner voice, the noise will dissolve and reality will yield to the truth you have chosen. This is where the discipline of attention becomes the bridge between your desire and its manifestation. The outer world is not your master. It is a servant that obeys the command issued by the sustained feeling within. And yet, this command is not shouted, it is not argued, it is not justified to anyone. It is silently assumed, lived in, and felt until it becomes as natural to you as breathing. You are not trying to make it happen. You are letting it happen by dwelling in the certainty that it already is. In this space of certainty, the invisible starts to take form, not because you are forcing it into shape, but because you are aligned with the law that governs all creation. The moment you accept this inner conviction as reality, the seen must bend to match the unseen, and the delay between thought and experience begins to shorten until it feels instantaneous. You must understand that the reality you long for is not waiting for you in some distant future. It exists now in a realm beyond sight, but within the reach of your assumption. Every heartbeat in which you feel the truth of your desire is a seed sown in the fertile ground of your subconscious. And the subconscious, once impressed, will not fail to express what has been planted. But it will express it in the perfect way, at the perfect time, in the perfect sequence of events that will astonish you in their precision. This is why you cannot be swayed by appearances, for appearances are nothing but shadows of old states. You must stand firm in the new state, knowing it has as much reality as the air you breathe. If you have ever watched a dream unfold while you sleep, you know how effortlessly the mind creates worlds. You walk through those dream streets, meet those dream people, hold those dream objects as though they are tangible. And yet, upon waking, you realize they were fashioned by your own consciousness without strain. The same law operates here. In your waking life, the outer is no more solid than the inner, and when you grasp this, you realize you are never at the mercy of chance or circumstance. You are always shaping, always directing, always creating, even when you are unaware of it. The difference between the conscious creator and the unconscious one is awareness of this process. Once you take responsibility for your state, you will no longer seek to control the shadows. You will stop trying to move pieces on the board from the outside, for you will know the real movement is within. To change anything, you must change the self from which you perceive it. You cannot continue to think as the one who lacks and expect to receive abundance. You cannot wear the emotional clothing of doubt and expect to be greeted with certainty. You must change the garment of your mind, for the world will mirror whatever you wear. This change is not an effort of willpower. It is a shift in identity. You begin to inhabit the version of yourself who already possesses what you desire, and you let that version of you become the dominant one. When you live from the end, as though the promise is already fulfilled, you begin to feel an ease about the matter. You do not check the soil every day to see if the seed is growing. You trust that it is. You do not stand over the tree demanding it to bear fruit. You know the fruit will come in season. This trust is not passive. It is the most active stance you can take, for it requires you to deny the evidence of your senses when it contradicts your inner reality. And in this denial, you are not rejecting the world. You are simply refusing to accept it as the final truth. You are choosing a higher truth, one that only you can see until it unfolds into the vision of all. In this process, gratitude becomes both the soil and the sunlight. Gratitude is not reserved for when the manifestation appears. It is the vibration that calls it into form. When you feel grateful, as though you already have it, you align yourself with the frequency of possession, and the gap between desire and fulfillment narrows. Gratitude, in the absence of the thing, is the proof that you already hold it within, and what you hold within must appear without. This is why the masters have always taught to give thanks before the blessing is visible, for in truth, the blessing is already yours. The moment you accept it in consciousness, it is here that the so called impossible becomes inevitable. What the world calls a miracle is nothing more than the natural outcome of a sustained assumption. You need not wonder how it will come, for the how is the language of the mind that doubts. The mind of faith does not trouble itself with mechanics. It knows the end is secured, and so the means will arrange themselves. Paths will open where none existed. People will arrive at the right moment. Opportunities will align with your needs without you forcing them. This is the silent orchestration of the law, and when you witness it, you realize there is no such thing as coincidence. You must remember that this work is not something you do once and forget. It is a state you live in. Every time you notice yourself slipping back into the old garment of fear, worry, or impatience, you gently return to the new state. You do not scold yourself. You simply redirect your attention to the inner world where all things are already complete. And as you persist, you will find the old patterns lose their power over you. The emotional triggers fade, the doubts weaken, and the certainty grows until it is unshakable. This is the point where even before the outer confirms it, you know you have it. The beauty of this understanding is that it frees you from the tyranny of time. You no longer wait anxiously for the manifestation. You live as though it is here. The waiting transforms into a quiet enjoyment, a knowing that the story has already been written in your favor. This peace itself becomes a magnet for the very thing you desire, for nothing draws to you faster than a heart at rest. In this rest, the unseen works without interference, bringing the invisible into visibility in ways that will leave you in awe of the perfection of it all. There is a profound power that rests in the quiet moments when the mind is free from distraction, when the soul is allowed to drift without resistance into the realm of pure imagination. It is in these moments that the true work of creation takes place, not by force or effort, but by the gentle act of allowing your consciousness to inhabit the state of having what you desire. The key lies not in striving or struggling, but in resting in the fulfilled state as naturally as you breathe. The world will not change until your inner world changes first, and until you live from that new state. The outer realm will continue to reflect the old patterns. This is the law. The visible is the effect of the invisible, and the invisible is shaped by your persistent inner assumption. When you imagine yourself holding the prize, whether it is a lottery win or the abundance you seek. You must do so with such vividness and feeling that the imagination feels more real than the senses. The senses tell you what is. The imagination tells you what can be and what already is in the unseen. It is this tension between what is and what is imagined that sets creation in motion. If you can learn to dwell so fully in the imagined scene that it occupies your mind as the present reality, the law responds immediately and without fail. It moves to make the imagined real, because it cannot resist the power of a mind fully convinced. You must also understand that this process is not a fleeting moment, but a sustained state. It is not enough to imagine once or twice and then allow doubt to creep back in. The unseen world requires persistence, not force. You return to the vision as often as you need, bathing yourself in the feeling of fulfillment until that feeling becomes your natural state. Your thoughts, words, and actions will then align effortlessly with the reality you have created within. This alignment is the secret of all true manifestation, not the accumulation of effort, but the seamless harmony of being and believing. In this harmony, the obstacles that once seemed insurmountable begin to dissolve. The seeming lack, the waiting, the frustration, all fall away because you have ceased to give them power. Instead, you have shifted your attention and your vibration to the reality you prefer. The law knows only your dominant state, and that state governs what appears in your experience. When your dominant state is one of fulfillment, the outer world must conform. It will bring you the signs, the opportunities, and the events that match your inner conviction, often in ways that surprise you with their ease and grace. Remember, you are not asking the universe for a favor. You are stepping into the awareness that you are the creator of your reality. This awareness is not arrogance but liberation. It frees you from the victim role and empowers you to live from your creative center. Every moment you spend imagining your desire fulfilled is a moment spent writing the script your life will follow. The more you immerse yourself in this script, the quicker the external world must follow suit. It is also important to cultivate patience, for the law is precise but works according to its own perfect timing. You cannot rush manifestation any more than you can force a flower to bloom before its season. The waiting is not failure. It is the preparation of the conditions that will bring your desire to full expression. Trust in this timing and do not measure progress by surface appearances. Beneath the surface, unseen currents are moving powerfully, orchestrating events and arranging circumstances to bring your vision into form. The act of falling asleep with your desire firmly held in mind is one of the most potent acts of creation you can perform. As you drift into the realm of sleep, your conscious mind relaxes and your subconscious mind becomes fully receptive. This is the fertile ground where the seed of your assumption takes root and begins to grow. The feeling you carry into sleep becomes the soil in which your future is planted. Therefore, end your day with the joyous feeling of possession, as though the lottery win has already come to pass. Let gratitude flood your heart for this unseen gift, knowing that in doing so, you are aligning yourself with the highest law of creation. When you awaken, do not immediately turn your attention to the problems of the day or the evidence of lack. Instead, reaffirm your assumption by dwelling once more on the feeling of fulfillment. This morning ritual sets the tone for your day, anchoring you in the vibration of the fulfilled desire before the world has had a chance to remind you otherwise. As you carry this feeling throughout the day, you will find that the world itself begins to shift. Doors open, conversations flow, and opportunities appear in alignment with the reality you have embraced within. It is essential to keep your inner world free from contradictions. Doubt and faith cannot coexist in the same space without conflict. You must choose which you will entertain and which you will dismiss. The power of your assumption depends on the clarity and exclusivity of your belief. When your belief is firm, unwavering, and accompanied by feeling, it becomes a force that bends circumstances, attracts allies, and summons miracles. You will discover that what once seemed impossible becomes inevitable. To master this process is to master life itself. It is to live from a place of creative authority where you know that your inner world determines your outer world. You are not subject to the whims of chance or the judgments of others. You are the silent architect of your experience. Each night, as you play this strange rule while you sleep, you are weaving the threads of your new reality, drawing your bank account toward explosion, not by accident, but by design. And so you continue night after night, feeding your imagination with the feeling of having already won, guarding your state from doubt, persisting beyond appearances, and trusting the perfect unfolding of your vision. This is the mysterious and powerful law of creation, the law that changes lottery day forever. There is a sacred silence that exists before the birth of every desire fulfilled, a quiet space where the world appears still and nothing seems to move. But this stillness is not emptiness. It is the unseen stirring of the creative power that shapes all things. It is here, in the quiet heart of your assumption, that the unseen begins its work, weaving threads of possibility into the fabric of reality. You must learn to dwell in this silence without fear, knowing that the absence of outward evidence does not mean absence of inward power. The seed you have planted in your imagination is germinating, growing beneath the surface where you cannot yet see it. Your task is to remain faithful to the unseen, to hold your vision steady through the stillness, for it is in this quiet persistence that the law moves with certainty and grace. You must understand that your inner world is the canvas upon which your future is painted. Every thought, every feeling, every word you speak shapes the contours of that painting. If you fill it with doubt, hesitation, or fear, those elements will appear in the outer world as obstacles and delays. But if you fill it with confidence, joy, and certainty, the world must respond in kind. This is why the discipline of imagination is so vital, not as a casual pastime, but as a deliberate, sustained act of creation. To imagine with feeling is to cast a stone into the still waters of your being. The ripples will expand until they reach every corner of your life. The 19th key teaches you to hold your desire not as something distant or uncertain, but as a present reality. Do not say, "I hope to win," or "I wish this might happen." Instead, say to yourself, "It is done," and live in the feeling of that truth, as though it were already manifest. This shift in language is a shift in consciousness. The law does not respond to vague hopes. It responds to definite assumptions. The moment you claim your desire in the present tense, you are stepping into the reality where it already exists. The outer world cannot resist this force, and so it begins to align with your new state. But claiming is only part of the process. You must also release all attachment to the form in which your desire will appear. This release is not indifference. It is trust in the wisdom of the unseen. You do not need to control the how or the when, because the law of creation is infinitely intelligent. It will arrange the perfect circumstances, people, and timing to bring your desire to fruition in the way that best serves your highest good. To cling to a specific outcome or timeline is to invite resistance. Instead, hold your desire firmly but lightly, like a flame protected from the wind, knowing it will burn brightly in its own perfect time. The 20th key is the practice of gratitude as a state of being, rather than a response to circumstance. True gratitude arises not from what is seen, but from what is known inwardly. It is the acknowledgement that your desire is already fulfilled in the invisible realm, and that the manifestation is only a matter of time. When you live in this state of gratitude, you align yourself with the vibration of abundance. Gratitude opens the channels through which blessings flow freely, removing blockages of resistance and disbelief. It is the emotional key that unlocks the door to your new reality. Imagine feeling deep appreciation for the life you are creating, for the wealth that is coming, even before you see a single sign. This feeling transforms your entire being. It elevates your vibration, making you a magnet for all that you have imagined. The law cannot resist a heart overflowing with thankfulness, and it responds by delivering miracles that will surprise and delight you. Gratitude is the silent language of faith. It speaks volumes to the unseen forces, commanding them to bring forth your desire without delay. As you cultivate gratitude, you begin to see life through new eyes. Challenges become opportunities, delays become necessary preparations, and setbacks become lessons in disguise. You no longer measure your progress by external circumstances, but by the strength of your inner conviction and joy. This shift in perspective is the hallmark of the Master Creator, for it reflects a consciousness that has transcended fear and doubt and rests securely in the arms of divine assurance. Remember that your emotions are the indicators of your alignment. When you feel joy, peace, and gratitude, you are in harmony with the creative power within you. When you feel anxiety, fear, or impatience, you are out of alignment and must gently return to the inner scene of fulfillment. This return is not a struggle, but a loving redirection of attention to the state you wish to inhabit. Over time, this practice becomes effortless, and your dominant state becomes one of unwavering faith and expectancy. The law you are working with is absolute and unchanging. It never fails and never makes exceptions. It is impartial and responds solely to the frequency you emit. If you want to experience the explosion of your bank account, the sudden blessing of wealth on lottery day, you must become that frequency in every fiber of your being. You must live as though you have already won. And in doing so, you draw that reality irresistibly toward you. The universe conspires in your favor when you align your inner world with your desires. So continue this sacred work. Persist in your assumption. Guard your state with care. Release attachment to outcomes and live in gratitude. Allow yourself to be the master of your destiny, the artist of your reality. This strange law you play while you sleep is transforming you now, even if the outer world has yet to reveal its secrets. Trust the process, for it is working invisibly, orchestrating the perfect arrival of your dreams. There exists within every individual a boundless wellspring of creative power, a force so profound that when fully understood and embraced, it reshapes the very fabric of existence. This power does not lie in external circumstances, nor in the hands of others, but within the sanctuary of your own imagination. It is the unseen architect of your reality, the silent weaver of your destiny. To awaken this force, you must first relinquish all dependence on the outer world and turn inward to the fertile realm of your own consciousness. Here, in this sacred space, the seeds of your desires are planted with certainty, and their growth is assured by the unyielding law that governs all creation. The 21st key calls for a radical shift in perspective, a complete surrender to the notion that your imagination is the sole cause of all effects. When you understand this, you no longer look to the outside world for evidence or validation. Instead, you focus on the vivid inner scene where your desire already exists fulfilled. This scene is not a mere fantasy, but a factual reality in the invisible realm. Your task is to persist in dwelling there, to feel it so deeply that it saturates your entire being. This saturation changes your vibration, and since the outer world is a reflection of your dominant frequency, it must conform to the new state you inhabit. You are the silent commander of your experience. Each thought you think, each image you hold, is an order issued to the creative forces that govern existence. When you hold your attention on the fulfilled desire, you are directing these forces to bring it forth without delay. Conversely, When your attention wanders to doubt, fear, or lack, you are inadvertently commanding their presence. Therefore, mastery lies not in fighting unwanted circumstances, but in mastering your focus and feeling. This mastery is not achieved through effort, but through a conscious decision to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled over and over again until it becomes your dominant reality. The imagination must be used deliberately and consistently. It is not enough to have a fleeting thought or a passing daydream. You must enter the scene with full awareness, immersing yourself in the details, engaging your senses, and most importantly, experiencing the emotional satisfaction of having already received. This emotional experience is the key that unlocks the door to manifestation. The law responds most powerfully, not to intellectual understanding, but to feeling. The feeling of the wish fulfilled sets in motion forces that align circumstances and people to make the invisible visible. In this process, resistance will arise. It may appear as skepticism from others, internal doubts, or seeming delays in the external world. These are tests of your faith, opportunities to deepen your conviction. When you meet resistance with renewed assumption, you strengthen the vibration of your desire. You prove to yourself and to the universe that your inner world is your true reality and that nothing outside can undermine it. This steadfastness is the hallmark of the Master Manifester. The 22nd key emphasizes the importance of living as if. To live as if means to act, think, and feel as though your desire is already your present fact. This does not mean pretending or forcing yourself into unnatural behavior, but adopting the natural demeanor and mindset of the person who has already achieved the goal. This might mean carrying yourself with confidence, speaking with assurance, or simply feeling the joy and gratitude of possession. When you live as if, you align your entire being with the frequency of your desire, and the world cannot help but reflect this alignment. Living as if also means releasing the need to explain or justify your belief to others or even to yourself. The internal certainty is enough. When you carry this certainty, you become impervious to external doubt or negativity. Your environment will begin to change in response, and you will notice opportunities appearing as if by magic. This shift in consciousness turns manifestation from a distant hope into a present reality. To truly live as if, you must also cultivate an attitude of gratitude and joy. These emotions elevate your vibration and make you a magnet for the abundance you seek. They signal to the law that you are ready and deserving of your desire. Gratitude, in particular, is a powerful attractor. It opens the channels through which blessings flow freely and removes resistance. When you are grateful for the unseen blessings already on their way, you strengthen your assumption and accelerate the manifestation process. Remember that your outer circumstances do not define you. Your inner state does. The person who has achieved their greatest desires is not different because of what they have, but because of who they have become in their mind and heart. This transformation is the true miracle. When you embody the state of the wish fulfilled, you embody the creative power that shapes reality itself. The lottery win, the financial explosion, or any great blessing is simply the natural result of this inner transformation. As you practice these keys, you will find that your life begins to change in subtle but undeniable ways. You will notice a growing ease in your interactions, a deepening peace in your heart, and a steady stream of synchronicities that confirm you are on the right path. These are the footprints of manifestation, the signs that your inner work is bearing fruit. Each step forward reinforces your faith and your power, creating a positive feedback loop that propels you toward your ultimate goal. This path is not a quick fix, but a profound journey of becoming. It requires patience, persistence, and unwavering belief. Yet the rewards are immeasurable. For you are not merely changing your circumstances, but awakening to your true identity as a creator. You are learning to speak the language of the universe fluently, issuing commands that are fulfilled without question. This mastery is available to all who choose to embrace it and commit to the practice of sustained assumption and feeling. Within the vast expanse of your consciousness lies a realm untouched by the limitations of time and space, a realm where every possibility exists simultaneously and every desire can be born anew. This realm is not external. It is the inner sanctuary where your true creative power dwells. To access this power, you must awaken from the illusion that your circumstances dictate your destiny. Instead, you embrace the truth that your assumptions and imaginal acts shape the very fabric of your experience. This awakening is not a sudden event, but a gradual unfolding, a deepening recognition that you are the author of your own reality, the silent architect who crafts life through thought, feeling, and belief. The 23rd key invites you to dwell continually in the feeling of your wish fulfilled, not as an occasional thought, but as a permanent state of consciousness. This means carrying the inner awareness of having already received your desire through every moment of your day and even into your sleep. It is in the continuity of this feeling that the power of manifestation grows strongest. When your inner state remains unshaken by external appearances, the law responds with relentless fidelity, orchestrating circumstances and events that align perfectly with your vision. Persistence here is not mere stubbornness, but a sacred devotion to the reality you have chosen. When you remain in this state, the outer world begins to mirror your inner conviction. Small coincidences become meaningful signs. Encounters turn into opportunities, and obstacles transform into stepping stones. These are the footprints of manifestation, guiding you forward and confirming your creative power. You will learn to read these signs not with skepticism, but with gratitude. For they are the language through which the unseen communicates its work. This dialogue between your inner world and the outer world is continuous and intimate. A dance of creation that unfolds effortlessly when you are aligned with the feeling of the fulfilled desire. The act of imagining with feeling is the cornerstone of this key. Imagination is not a fanciful escape, but the workshop of creation. The vividness of your inner scene, combined with the emotional conviction of possession, ignites the creative law into action. The mind that imagines is not separate from the world it experiences. It is the source from which the world flows. When you visualize holding the lottery ticket with the winning numbers, when you hear the joyous announcement, when you feel the thrill of abundance flowing into your life, you are not dreaming of a distant future. You are planting the seed that will grow into your new reality. Yet, this imagining must be sustained beyond moments of inspiration. It is the habitual state of consciousness that matters most. The law responds not to a single spark, but to the steady flame. When you cultivate this flame, by returning to the inner scene regularly, you strengthen the vibration that calls forth your desire. Over time, this sustained assumption changes your perception so thoroughly that the old reality loses its grip, and the new reality feels more natural and inevitable. This key also teaches the necessity of faith in the invisible. Manifestation does not come by observing the outer world, but by knowing what is true within. The unseen is the cause, the seen is the effect. To rely on the seen is to place your faith in the effect rather than the cause. This inversion leads to doubt and delay. Instead, fix your faith on the invisible, the inner reality where your desire is already fulfilled. This faith is not blind, but informed by the unshakable law that governs all things. It is a faith born of understanding and experience, a faith that moves mountains by refusing to be moved by appearances. The 24th key invites you to cultivate an unwavering expectancy, a joyful anticipation that your desire is not just possible, but inevitable. This expectancy is not anxious or desperate. It is calm, confident, and full of delight. It arises naturally when you have done the inner work of assumption and feeling. Expectancy becomes the fertile ground from which miracles grow. When you expect your desires to come to pass, you create a magnetic field that draws them toward you effortlessly. This magnetic power is born of your alignment and signals to the law that you are ready to receive. Living in expectancy also transforms your daily experience. You no longer see yourself as a passive recipient waiting for blessings to fall from the sky. Instead, you become an active participant in the creative process, co-creating with the unseen forces through your sustained belief and joy. This co-creation is a partnership, a sacred dance between your imagination and the infinite intelligence that orchestrates all things. The more you engage in this dance with expectancy, the more fluid and responsive life becomes. Opportunities arise as if by magic, resources flow without strain, and your path unfolds with perfect synchronicity. Expectancy is closely tied to gratitude. For to expect is to appreciate in advance. The heart that feels thankful before the blessing arrives opens the channels of abundance. This preemptive gratitude shifts your vibration to one of receiving and fulfillment, making it impossible for the law to withhold your desire. When you cultivate expectancy infused with gratitude, you create a powerful vortex that accelerates manifestation and brings your dreams into reality with stunning speed. The practice of these keys, dwelling in the feeling of fulfillment and living with unwavering expectancy, forms the foundation of your mastery over manifestation. It is a discipline of consciousness that requires dedication, but rewards with effortless creation. As you make these states your norm, you will find that external circumstances become secondary to your inner experience. You will no longer be tossed about by events but remain anchored in the secure, knowing that your desires are unfolding exactly as they should. This anchoring brings peace in the midst of apparent chaos and turns waiting into a joyful preparation. Each day becomes an opportunity to deepen your assumption, to nurture your expectancy, and to celebrate the invisible unfolding of your dreams. The more you live from these keys, the more you embody the creative power that makes all things possible. Within the depths of your being lies an eternal wellspring of power, the essence of creation itself, waiting to be tapped by your conscious awareness. This power does not come from effort, struggle, or external circumstances, but flows effortlessly when you align your thoughts and feelings with the truth of your desire already fulfilled. To access this source is to awaken to your true nature as a creator, a divine force capable of shaping reality through the persistent and deliberate use of imagination. The 25th key invites you to recognize that every condition in your life is the direct result of your inner assumptions. It is not the world dictating your state, but your state dictating the world. When you grasp this, you understand that change does not come from changing external conditions first, but from changing your inner consciousness first. Your imagination is the workshop of creation, the sacred place where all things are formed before they appear in the physical world. To manifest your desires, you must habitually revisit the inner scene of fulfillment, feeling the joy, satisfaction, and peace of having already received what you seek. This habitual return is not a mere technique, but a lifestyle, a continuous alignment with the reality you choose to experience. The power of this practice lies not in occasional daydreams, but in persistent and unwavering assumption. This assumption saturates your subconscious mind, which acts as the fertile ground where your desires take root and begin to grow into tangible realities. Resistance, doubt, and negative feelings will attempt to pull you away from this state. But your role is to gently, yet firmly, redirect your attention back to the imagined scene with feeling. This redirection is an act of faith, a declaration that you trust the law of assumption more than the appearances of your senses. You are choosing to believe in the reality of your desire rather than the evidence of lack. This choice is the crucible in which miracles are forged. It is not always easy, but it is necessary for mastery. The 26th key emphasizes the importance of the emotional atmosphere in which your desire is held. Feelings are the language of the subconscious, and they convey your true state to the creative forces that respond to you. It is not enough to think of your desire intellectually. You must feel it deeply and vividly. The feelings of joy, gratitude, peace, and fulfillment act as a magnet, drawing the external conditions that correspond to your inner state. Negative feelings, such as fear, worry, and impatience, send conflicting signals that delay or prevent manifestation. Therefore, cultivating a consistent emotional state aligned with your fulfilled desire is essential. This emotional alignment is cultivated through practices such as feeling the reality of your desire before sleep and upon waking, imagining scenes that evoke the emotions you would feel as if the desire were already fulfilled, and maintaining an inner dialogue of gratitude and assurance throughout the day. These practices deepen your connection to the vibrational frequency of your wish fulfilled, making your entire being a beacon for its arrival. In this process, patience is not passive, waiting, but an active state of calm expectancy. You do not fret over timing or the details of manifestation. Instead, you rest in the knowing that your desire is already accomplished in the unseen and will appear in the perfect way and time. This patience is born of trust, a trust rooted in the understanding of the immutable law that your inner state creates your outer world. The universe is always responding. It is your belief that signals when and how the manifestation unfolds. Living from this place of emotional and mental alignment transforms your relationship with life itself. Challenges become opportunities to deepen your faith. Setbacks become invitations to return to the inner scene with greater conviction. You no longer react to circumstances as a victim, but respond as a master creator. Your feelings guide you as accurately as a compass, pointing you back to the fulfilled state when you stray. The 25th and 26th keys together form a powerful foundation for lasting manifestation. They teach you to hold your vision with persistent assumption and to fuel that vision with the feelings of fulfillment. This union of mind and emotion creates a vibration that cannot be ignored by the creative forces of the universe. It magnetizes your desires, drawing them swiftly and surely into your experience. As you continue to practice these principles, you will notice a growing ease in your life, a sense of flow that indicates your alignment with the creative law. Opportunities that once seemed elusive become commonplace. Your bank account begins to reflect the abundance you have imagined. This transformation is not the result of external luck, but of your inner work. Your commitment to living from the end and feeling your wish fulfilled now. Within the unseen depths of your consciousness lies a power more potent than any external circumstance or fleeting emotion. This power is the seed of all creation, the infinite source from which your entire reality emerges. When you learn to wield this power consciously, you step beyond the limitations imposed by time, space, and circumstance. You become the master of your fate, the silent architect of the life you desire. The 27th key reveals that your assumptions are not mere thoughts, but living forces that shape the fabric of your experience. They are the invisible commands that set the wheels of manifestation in motion. To awaken this key is to understand that your state of consciousness is the creative cause behind every effect you witness. Every assumption you hold acts like a blueprint for your reality. If you assume lack, limitation, or failure, these will be the patterns your outer world reflects. Conversely, if you assume abundance, success, and fulfillment, your external experience must conform to that inner state. This is not theory but law, an unchanging principle that governs the seen and unseen alike. The law does not discriminate. It responds to the frequency you emit with perfect precision. Your task, then, is to carefully examine your assumptions and choose those that serve your highest good. By doing so, you align yourself with the currents of creation and become a magnet for the desires you have imagined. Imagination is your creative instrument, the tool through which you paint the future you wish to inhabit. But it is not imagination alone that manifests reality. It is imagination combined with feeling, the emotional experience of having what you want now. This fusion ignites the creative process. When you immerse yourself fully in the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you are issuing an unambiguous command to the universe. This command echoes through the unseen realm, setting in motion the laws that bring forth form from formlessness. The more vivid and emotionally charged your inner scene, the stronger the signal you send. The 28th key emphasizes the necessity of persistence and faith in this process. Manifestation is not always instantaneous. It unfolds according to divine timing and intelligence. There may be moments when the outer world appears unchanged, or when doubts seek to undermine your conviction. Yet these moments are tests of your faith, opportunities to deepen your trust in the law that never fails. Persistence in assumption means returning continually to the state of fulfillment, regardless of external appearances. It is a steadfast commitment to the unseen reality that your desire is already accomplished. This persistence is not rigid stubbornness, but a flexible, loving redirection of attention. When your thoughts stray to doubt or fear, gently guide them back to the inner scene of victory. Over time, this habit rewires your subconscious mind, replacing old patterns of limitation with new patterns of abundance. The subconscious mind is the fertile soil in which your seeds of desire take root. If nourished consistently with assumption and feeling, these seeds grow into experiences that astonish you with their precision and timing. Faith in this context is not blind belief, but experiential knowledge. It is born from observing the law at work in your own life and trusting its consistency. The law does not fail. It only responds to the frequency you maintain. When you combine persistent assumption with unwavering faith, you create a vibrational field so powerful that resistance fades and manifestation becomes inevitable. This faith transforms waiting into expectancy, impatience into peace, and doubt into certainty. Living from this place of persistent faith changes your entire being. You no longer react to setbacks as failures, but as temporary shadows that must yield to your light. Your emotions become allies rather than adversaries, guiding you back to the fulfilled state whenever you drift away. This mastery over your inner world reflects directly in your outer world, attracting circumstances, people, and opportunities that mirror your dominant vibration. The 27th and 28th keys together form a potent combination. The conscious choice of assumptions and the relentless persistence in those assumptions. This combination is the heartbeat of manifestation, the engine that drives your desires from invisible seed to visible fruition. When you live in alignment with these keys, you experience a transformation so profound that your life becomes a testament to the creative power within. As you practice, you will notice your bank account swelling, your opportunities multiplying, and your life unfolding in extraordinary ways. These are not coincidences, but the natural consequences of living from the end and persisting in faith. The strange law you play while you sleep works silently but powerfully, reshaping your reality to match your inner state. Within the infinite landscape of your inner world lies the ultimate truth, that you are the creator of your own reality, and all that you experience is but a reflection of the assumptions you hold. The 29th key draws your attention to the absolute necessity of living wholly in the end, the state of having already received your desire. This is not a mere wish or hope, but a full embodiment of the fulfilled state, as if it were now. To live wholly in the end means to occupy the consciousness of the person who has achieved the victory you seek. It means to feel the joy, the peace, and the satisfaction of possession, to carry that feeling into every thought, every word, and every action. When you do this, you are no longer waiting for your manifestation to arrive. You are living it now in the unseen, and the unseen must obey. This living in the end is the foundation upon which all manifestation rests. The external world is a mirror that reflects your inner state without fail. If you are not living in the end, you are sending mixed signals, sometimes assuming fulfillment, other times entertaining doubt or lack. And this confusion delays the appearance of your desire. The law is simple and precise. It can only manifest what you consistently assume to be true. Therefore, the clarity and exclusivity of your assumption are paramount. To live wholly in the end is to eliminate all inner contradictions, to become unified in your belief and feeling. The power of this practice is revealed most profoundly in the way it transforms your entire being. When you inhabit the fulfilled state, your thoughts become harmonious, your emotions steady, and your actions aligned with your new reality. You move through life with a confidence and grace that attract favorable circumstances and people. This magnetic presence is the hallmark of one who has mastered the law of assumption. It is a state that others recognize and respond to, often unconsciously, opening doors that were once closed and creating opportunities that seemed impossible. The 29th key also teaches you the importance of repeating your assumptions silently and consistently, especially at the edges of consciousness, before sleep and upon waking. These moments are gateways to the subconscious, which is highly receptive and will accept the assumptions as reality. By impressing your fulfilled state upon your subconscious mind, you ensure that the foundation of your reality is firmly established and that your manifestation unfolds naturally and effortlessly. This repetition is not a mechanical task, but a sacred ritual, a loving affirmation of your creative power and your right to abundance. As you deepen your practice of living wholly in the end, you will find that your world begins to shift in remarkable ways. Events will align, coincidences will multiply, and your desires will manifest with increasing speed and ease. These manifestations are not random, but the inevitable outcome of your consistent inner state. Your bank account will reflect this shift, swelling as your assumption grows stronger and your vibration rises. This is the miracle of conscious creation, a miracle accessible to all who commit to the disciplined use of their imagination and feeling. The 30th key completes this sacred cycle by revealing the ultimate secret, that the fulfillment of your desire is not separate from you, but is your true nature. The desire you hold in your heart is a call to remember who you really are, a being of infinite power, love, and creativity. Manifestation is not about acquiring something outside yourself, but about awakening to the reality that your desire is already fulfilled within. When you realize this, the outer world becomes a natural reflection of your inner truth, and your experience of abundance flows effortlessly. This key teaches that all resistance arises from forgetting this truth and identifying instead with limitation and lack. The moment you shift your identity back to the fulfilled state, all barriers dissolve. You no longer see scarcity, but abundance, not struggle, but ease, not waiting, but immediate presence. This identity shift is the cornerstone of true manifestation. It is a liberation from the illusion of separation and a return to the divine creative source within. To embody this key fully, you must practice self, love, and acceptance, recognizing that you are worthy of all good things simply by virtue of your existence. This self-acceptance creates an energetic field of openness that welcomes blessings and allows the law to work unhindered. It is through this loving acceptance of yourself and your desires that you align most powerfully with the creative forces of the universe. The journey through these keys is a journey of transformation, from seeking outside yourself to realizing the infinite power within. Each key builds upon the last, creating a harmonious symphony of thought, feeling, and belief that shapes your reality with precision and grace. As you integrate these teachings, you become a living testament to the law of assumption, a beacon of manifestation mastery. As you have journeyed through these profound truths, remember that the power to change your reality lies always within you. The strange and divine law you have embraced is not some distant secret, but the very essence of your being. By living wholly in the end, by feeling the fulfillment of your desires now, and by persisting with unwavering faith and expectancy, you align yourself with the infinite creative force that shapes all things. Your outer world is simply a mirror of your inner state, and when you master this inner world, manifestation becomes effortless and inevitable. Trust in this process. Know that every moment spent nurturing your assumption, every feeling of gratitude, and every act of faith is building the bridge between your dreams and your reality. The lottery win, the explosion of abundance, the life you imagine, these are not far-off fantasies, but the natural unfolding of the law responding to your inner state. Remain patient, persistent, and joyful. Your desires are on their way, and your life is transforming even as you listen. Thank you deeply for joining me on this journey. Your willingness to open your mind and heart to these teachings is the first step toward the extraordinary life you deserve. Continue to trust yourself and the divine law within. I am honored to be part of your awakening, and I look forward to witnessing the miracles that will flow into your life. Keep imagining, keep believing, and watch how the universe conspires to make your dreams come true. There exists within every individual a boundless wellspring of creative power, a force so profound that when fully understood and embraced, it reshapes the very fabric of existence. This power does not lie in external circumstances, nor in the hands of others, but within the sanctuary of your own imagination. It is the unseen architect of your reality, the silent weaver of your destiny. To awaken this force, you must first relinquish all dependence on the outer world and turn inward to the fertile realm of your own consciousness. Here, in this sacred space, the seeds of your desires are planted with certainty, and their growth is assured by the unyielding law that governs all creation. The 21st key calls for a radical shift in perspective, a complete surrender to the notion that your imagination is the sole cause of all effects. When you understand this, you no longer look to the outside world for evidence or validation. Instead, you focus on the vivid inner scene where your desire already exists fulfilled. This scene is not a mere fantasy, but a factual reality in the invisible realm. Your task is to persist in dwelling there, to feel it so deeply that it saturates your entire being. This saturation changes your vibration, and since the outer world is a reflection of your dominant frequency. It must conform to the new state you inhabit. You are the silent commander of your experience. Each thought you think, each image you hold, is an order issued to the creative forces that govern existence. When you hold your attention on the fulfilled desire, you are directing these forces to bring it forth without delay. Conversely, when your attention wanders to doubt, fear, or lack, you are inadvertently commanding their presence. Therefore, mastery lies not in fighting unwanted circumstances, but in mastering your focus and feeling. This mastery is not achieved through effort, but through a conscious decision to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled over and over again until it becomes your dominant reality. The imagination must be used deliberately and consistently. It is not enough to have a fleeting thought or a passing daydream. You must enter the scene with full awareness, immersing yourself in the details, engaging your senses, and most importantly, experiencing the emotional satisfaction of having already received. This emotional experience is the key that unlocks the door to manifestation. The law responds most powerfully, not to intellectual understanding, but to feeling. The feeling of the wish fulfilled sets in motion forces that align circumstances and people to make the invisible visible. In this process, resistance will arise. It may appear as skepticism from others, internal doubts, or seeming delays in the external world. These are tests of your faith, opportunities to deepen your conviction. When you meet resistance with renewed assumption, you strengthen the vibration of your desire. You prove to yourself and to the universe that your inner world is your true reality and that nothing outside can undermine it. This steadfastness is the hallmark of the Master Manifester. The 22nd key emphasizes the importance of living as if. To live as if means to act, think, and feel as though your desire is already your present fact. This does not mean pretending or forcing yourself into unnatural behavior, but adopting the natural demeanor and mindset of the person who has already achieved the goal. This might mean carrying yourself with confidence, speaking with assurance, or simply feeling the joy and gratitude of possession. When you live as if, you align your entire being with the frequency of your desire, and the world cannot help but reflect this alignment. Living as if also means releasing the need to explain or justify your belief to others or even to yourself. The internal certainty is enough. When you carry this certainty, you become impervious to external doubt or negativity. Your environment will begin to change in response, and you will notice opportunities appearing as if by magic. This shift in consciousness turns manifestation from a distant hope into a present reality. To truly live as if, you must also cultivate an attitude of gratitude and joy. These emotions elevate your vibration and make you a magnet for the abundance you seek. They signal to the law that you are ready and deserving of your desire. Gratitude, in particular, is a powerful attractor. It opens the channels through which blessings flow freely and removes resistance. When you are grateful for the unseen blessings already on their way, you strengthen your assumption and accelerate the manifestation process. Remember that your outer circumstances do not define you. Your inner state does. The person who has achieved their greatest desires is not different because of what they have, but because of who they have become in their mind and heart. This transformation is the true miracle. When you embody the state of the wish fulfilled, you embody the creative power that shapes reality itself. The lottery win, the financial explosion, or any great blessing is simply the natural result of this inner transformation. As you practice these keys, you will find that your life begins to change in subtle but undeniable ways. You will notice a growing ease in your interactions, a deepening peace in your heart, and a steady stream of synchronicities that confirm you are on the right path. These are the footprints of manifestation, the signs that your inner work is bearing fruit. Each step forward reinforces your faith and your power, creating a positive feedback loop that propels you toward your ultimate goal. This path is not a quick fix, but a profound journey of becoming. It requires patience, persistence, and unwavering belief. Yet the rewards are immeasurable. For you are not merely changing your circumstances, but awakening to your true identity as a creator. You are learning to speak the language of the universe fluently, issuing commands that are fulfilled without question. This mastery is available to all who choose to embrace it and commit to the practice of sustained assumption and feeling. Within the vast expanse of your consciousness lies a realm untouched by the limitations of time and space, a realm where every possibility exists simultaneously and every desire can be born anew. This realm is not external. It is the inner sanctuary where your true creative power dwells. To access this power, you must awaken from the illusion that your circumstances dictate your destiny. Instead, you embrace the truth that your assumptions and imaginal acts shape the very fabric of your experience. This awakening is not a sudden event, but a gradual unfolding, a deepening recognition that you are the author of your own reality. The silent architect who crafts life through thought, feeling, and belief. The 23rd key invites you to dwell continually in the feeling of your wish fulfilled, not as an occasional thought, but as a permanent state of consciousness. This means carrying the inner awareness of having already received your desire through every moment of your day and even into your sleep. It is in the continuity of this feeling that the power of manifestation grows strongest. When your inner state remains unshaken by external appearances, the law responds with relentless fidelity, orchestrating circumstances and events that align perfectly with your vision. Persistence here is not mere stubbornness, but a sacred devotion to the reality you have chosen. When you remain in this state, the outer world begins to mirror your inner conviction. Small coincidences become meaningful signs. Encounters turn into opportunities, and obstacles transform into stepping stones. These are the footprints of manifestation, guiding you forward and confirming your creative power. You will learn to read these signs not with skepticism, but with gratitude. For they are the language through which the unseen communicates its work. This dialogue between your inner world and the outer world is continuous and intimate, a dance of creation that unfolds effortlessly when you are aligned with the feeling of the fulfilled desire. The act of imagining with feeling is the cornerstone of this key. Imagination is not a fanciful escape, but the workshop of creation. The vividness of your inner scene, combined with the emotional conviction of possession, ignites the creative law into action. The mind that imagines is not separate from the world it experiences. It is the source from which the world flows. When you visualize holding the lottery ticket with the winning numbers, when you hear the joyous announcement, when you feel the thrill of abundance flowing into your life, you are not dreaming of a distant future. You are planting the seed that will grow into your new reality. Yet, this imagining must be sustained beyond moments of inspiration. It is the habitual state of consciousness that matters most. The law responds not to a single spark, but to the steady flame. When you cultivate this flame, by returning to the inner scene regularly, you strengthen the vibration that calls forth your desire. Over time, this sustained assumption changes your perception so thoroughly that the old reality loses its grip, and the new reality feels more natural and inevitable. This key also teaches the necessity of faith in the invisible. Manifestation does not come by observing the outer world, but by knowing what is true within. The unseen is the cause, the seen is the effect. To rely on the seen is to place your faith in the effect rather than the cause. This inversion leads to doubt and delay. Instead, fix your faith on the invisible, the inner reality where your desire is already fulfilled. This faith is not blind, but informed by the unshakable law that governs all things. It is a faith born of understanding and experience, a faith that moves mountains by refusing to be moved by appearances. The 24th key invites you to cultivate an unwavering expectancy, a joyful anticipation that your desire is not just possible, but inevitable. This expectancy is not anxious or desperate. It is calm, confident, and full of delight. It arises naturally when you have done the inner work of assumption and feeling. Expectancy becomes the fertile ground from which miracles grow. When you expect your desires to come to pass, you create a magnetic field that draws them toward you effortlessly. This magnetic power is born of your alignment and signals to the law that you are ready to receive. Living in expectancy also transforms your daily experience. You no longer